Yeah, when I got my first paycheck, it was not nearly as much money as I thought. Rich friend, before you start investing, you need to understand what net pay is. But don't worry, it's the Bougie Budgeter, and I am here to break that down for you. So I always tell a story about me getting dragged on TikTok because I get dragged on TikTok so often. In one of my videos, I said I make about $1,700 every 2 weeks. And someone commented and was like, well, what are you doing to make $1,700 every 2 weeks? At the time, I think I was getting paid like $77,000 a year. That was my salary. I was getting dragged through my comments talking about like, oh, I would expect it to be higher if you're making this amount of money. If you're making 90,000 or if you're making 70,000, this looks like more of a if your salary was $60,000. And that's when I realized that people do not understand the difference between net pay and gross pay. They don't know the difference between what your salary and your offer letter says and what you actually take home. Because two people can have the same exact salary on their offer letter and be taking home two totally different incomes. I want to first define net pay versus gross pay. Your gross pay is before taxes, fees, and benefits come out. And whenever somebody is being an asshole online and talking about like, oh, you can't live off of, I really hated that video. Side note, I hated that video where the woman was talking about like $100,000 is not enough to live off of. And everyone kept saying, well, if it's like after taxes, oh, it's like $70,000. That is not the only thing that comes out of your check. And any financial educator incorrectly misstating what net pay looks like in order to prove a point or make someone feel lesser than literally sucks. They're the worst person ever. I don't care. Yeah, taxes get taken out, and your taxes also depends on how many dependents, what state you live in, what county you live in, and sometimes what city you live in. You can be getting taxed by the state, the city, and the county all at once. Social Security, FICA, like there are so many things. I was contributing a lot to my 401k. And when you are contributing to your 401k, that is your pre-tax dollars. So before we get to the taxes, before we get to the Social Security and the FICA and all of those other things that everyone has to get taken out of their check, they deduct. So if I'm taking 10% of my take home pay, I'm making $77,000. That's already less $7,000. So we're closer to 60,000 already. And that did not include my health insurance, which also is pre-taxed. That did not include my HSA savings, which is also pre-tax dollars. So all of these things are getting taken out of your check before you even get to the actual taxes and whatever else America likes to take out of your check. So if your offer letter said like $120,000 is your base price, that's $10,000 a month. Before they take the taxes out of that $10,000, they're taking out a bunch of other benefits. Then they take out the taxes and then they say, okay, what's left is net pay. And I think that people forget that. And the more money you make, the more money they take. So the next key point, let's talk about the standard contributions and your optional deductions. Standard is going to be your taxes based on where you live and where you work, because there are also people who travel. And then you also have to take in consideration some of these optional deductions. 401k is optional. You do not have to contribute to your 401k. Health insurance, I do not believe is optional. I'm not a health insurance like expert or whatever, but I think that you have to have some type of health insurance, bottom barrel. It doesn't have to be extravagant or wonderful, but health insurance. It's not always just cut and dry how much you're paying in your health insurance. It can vary. And health insurance does not include vision and dental. Those are separate. So we've already contributed to our 401k. We already took out health insurance, vision, and dental. all different. When you are filling out your benefits, it'll give you the list of everything that you're paying into. I bought into our legal department because I want to get a will done. I can go through the company's legal aspect and I won't have to pay out as much. There are so many things that you can buy into and that you can contribute to. HSA and FSA, those also come out pre-tax dollars. There is such a long list of what can come out of your check before it reaches your pockets. And it is what it is. So the last thing I want to talk about is adjusting your income. So when I was living with my parents, I was contributing to my 401k very heavily. And when I moved out, I needed a little bit more cash flow. So I reduced my contributions to my 401k. Also, during your open enrollment period is when you can play with your contributions. Maybe you didn't opt in for vision care and then you realize you did need vision care. I didn't opt in for vision care, but I opted in for HSA and I felt like that offset it enough. I'm like, I can just get an exam from Costco and use my HSA dollars because I can use that money at my discretion for my health. When there is a need for adjustments, I always go for reducing your 401k as long as you're still getting the match. And then I also did some reductions to my HSA. I maxed out my HSA the first year I had it. But again, I moved out. I needed a little bit more cash flow. So I reduced it so that it didn't overwhelm me or take out too much. Increasing your cash flow should always be your main focus. We have to talk about net pay because everybody is trying to act like they are six-figure earners. Even if your base salary was $120,000, you do not touch $10,000 a month. For you to have a take-home pay of $10,000 every month, you would have to be bringing in close to like 170, almost $200,000 for a W-2 salary for you to be bringing in $10,000 a month after contributing to everything else. That's the realistic idea. And yeah, people are liars. So I will see you in the next one. Bye.